We have a week in controversies ready for fight fans to digest. The combat sports scene has been popping off about the controversial decision win at UFC 282. After that, we have serious beef to go over with some scalding hot roasts between fighters speaking to greater rivalries and controversies coming up and being rekindled. Go blow for blow with us till you knock that YouTube timer to the max of the video's end. First up, let's talk about that decision victory. Fans and fighters alike are weighing in on Paddy Pimblett's outstanding decision win at UFC 282. This was a defeat of Jared Gordon, who has gone 19-6 across his MMA career against Paddy, who has a career standing of 20-3. Unanimous decision came down on Saturday, December 10th to decide one of the two main lightweight events in Las Vegas. Decision victories are triggered when a fight stops before the scheduled number of rounds are completed. This reverts to judge scorecards, which means that Paddy was the judge favorite for the fight. Right or wrong, they called it for Paddy through the credit they'd given him across the bout. Okay, so what's the big takeaway? For that, we look to Russian professional mixed martial artist contender Islam Makhachev. He's the current UFC lightweight champion and has been competing for over a decade, getting a start in UFC back in 2010. He holds the number 2 slot of UFC's men pound-for-pound rankings and is an expert in the Soviet fighting style known as Sambo. Everyone keeping up with the fight world knows Islam Makhachev, the Dagestani dagger. So his words on the decision victory have carried considerable weight over the usual din of couch commentators and smaller figures on the scene. After the victory, Pimblett spoke on the current champion, saying he would have put up a better fight than Charles did that night. This alluded to the fact that Islam was also present in fighting a bantamweight fight, though it was against Charles Oliveira. Charles's career is 33-9, whereas Makhachev is 23-1. Islam achieved victory through submission 3 minutes and 16 seconds into the second round. Islam shot back on Twitter saying he said that were a fight to occur in Nevada, he might lose to Paddy on the judges' scorecards. He threw in a downtrodden emoji and a lol in case he thought he was being sincere. Makhachev backs the sides who feel the judges made the wrong call on the fight and is not afraid to show it. He's getting ready to defend his title against the up-and-comer Alexander Volkanovski, who has 25 wins and 1 loss. That'll go down at UFC 284 on February 11th, 2023. This rumble will take place in Perth, Western Australia at the RAC Arena. It sounds like he might put his opponent on the rack the way he delivers devious burns. Much like his lightning burns, he has quite a few tricks up his sleeves. Volkanovski is the featherweight champion and has 22 concurrent wins. He's gonna go after Islam for the championship lightweight belt. It should seem that Islam is full of bravado ahead of this altercation and talking as large as he's living ahead of the fight. Well then, who really is this Paddy Pimblett? The UFC's baddie Paddy Pimblett is an incredibly popular name on the lightweight roster. He's well known and increasingly divisive among big fight fans. Everyone who smells the fuel fans the flames because they can tell his career has a chance to launch interesting rivalries and boost platforms. He came from humble origins in Heighton, Maricide. He's a Catholic schoolboy who achieved a first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and never looked back from the fight world. He has himself lost only 3 times, once by submission, the other 2 by decision. Across knockout, submission, and decision victories, he's 1-6-9-3 across his 20 wins. In his early years, he was signed to the Cage Warriors, an Irish mixed martial arts promotional organization. He earned their featherweight championship after defeating Johnny Frichet in their duel at the Echo Arena in Liverpool. Now he finds himself slingshot from those Hallican days back in his early career in 2016. This has been a meteoric rise for our lad, and he's made his share of enemies along the way. There have now been shots fired by famous AEW superstar MGF, and it's adding a new stage to Paddy's saga, a rise to fame or a fall from fortunes. Well, let's hear what people are saying. Let's get to it. What did MJF say about Paddy and his victory? Deuce-ups in the octagon are the basis for mixed martial arts, but sometimes they occur online as well. MJF had slammed Paddy the Baddy as a dollar store Conor McGregor. With recent posts, he has mocked this combatant once more. The generational talent was at UFC 282, where a co-main event saw a matchup between Paddy Pimblett and Jared Gordon. That's right, the same one we've just discussed. During the event, MJF, that's Maxwell Jacob Friedman for those not in the know, referred to the fight's resolution as a joke, intimating that Paddy would have lost the fight and everyone knew it. This suggests high favoritism from the judges for them to have such unanimous votes on the matter. He considers Paddy a punk and said he had run away from him before and would again. Some defenders threw nasty remarks at MJF about events being scripted in his fights and not in Jared's against Paddy. Most, however, tended to agree with him, Jared dominating his competitor throughout the fight. If you did not know the scores and just heard the bell toll at the end, you might have assumed it was to give Paddy a reprieve. Instead, it was the herald of his victory. This was a nice surprise for him, but clearly riled up those seeking further rivalries with the man. The media agreed with MJF. 23 of 24 reporting media outlets scored the fight in favor of Gordon. The judges have truly had a different view from their booths, it should seem. Some have gone so far as to suggest it's dollar signs they're seeing, as bribery of some sort is the only explanation for why they would assign such scores. This is commonly made as an argument when one cannot accept that judges have a unique perspective. The reality is that from a technical perspective, Paddy probably did more right than Gordon. But in mixed martial arts, the audience and commentators are not really interested in proper technique on any level beyond how cool it looks and how well it wins fights. No, the reality is that fans saw one guy looking like he was beating another guy up, but the dude getting wailed on won. That's just not gonna sell easy for the UFC, and MJF personified that position perfectly. What does this say about MJF's career trajectory? MJF featured in an outstanding in-ring return at the AEW All-Out pay-per-view event in September. He achieved victory in a stunning over-the-top casino ladder match in the process. Then at the Full Gear event last month, he went in as the Devil to defeat Jon Moxley for the AEW title, with the help of William Regal. Just when everyone thought he was turning soft, he surprised us all on AEW Dynamite, where the generational talent took Regal with brass knuckles to show his devilish heel side. MJF's endless mockery of Paddy Pimblett on Twitter would suggest that there is a fight brewing. There's a history between AEW and UFC fighters going at it in the ring. For the moment though, Paddy the Baddy has not answered these provocative statements from MJF, so it seems likely we'll be waiting some time before we see their conflict come to fruition on the big screen. All that said, what is next for Paddy Pimblett? Paddy Pimblett is 27 years old and a bit on the softer side. As a lightweight fighter weighing at around 155 pounds for competition time, he has tried to cultivate a family-friendly persona in Liverpool. He says that his relatively foppish, boyish looks and lack of tattoos allow kids to more easily identify with him than with the other men one sees in mixed martial arts, burly, tight-cut, and tatted to the nines. This is somewhat contrasted with his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Paddy does not fight like a schoolboy or ragamuffin about town. He achieved a stunning victory against Jordan Levitt back in July at the UFC Fight Night Ladies versus Aspinall via a rear naked choke submission in round 2. His ability to wrap around his opponent won him the Performance of the Night award. This speaks to his experience and training as a fighter who understands ground play, holds, flips, and other maneuvers on a conceptual level that can help him out in the boxing-heavy meta for a UFC fight. Paddy is sure to get into another major prize scrap soon. However, what that pairing will be is yet to be seen. We've got 3 likely options we think would make for a nice and stunning display that adds to his legend, one way or the other, and has the potential to keep his momentum up better than his last fight where everyone is calling BS on his results. The next fight should be against Clay Guida, Claudio Puelles, or Matt Frivola. Why? We'll break it down on a per-fight level. Clay Guida the Carpenter is a beloved UFC competitor whose fans would add intensely to mix up Paddy's own legions. He's far from his athletic prime though, so the Baddy's got a realistic shot to knock the old fighter down a peg while still adding to his own legend through defeating a venerable combatant. This is not a big jump in competition compared to who he's fought prior, but it's too good of a notch on the belt to pass up easily, assuming Clay wants the bout. Claudio is the Prince of Peru, and is a very legitimate test of Paddy's abilities at this point in both men's careers. This 26-year-old is a high-level competitor who is a very strong grappler, able to toe-to-toe Pimblett's abilities as a jiu-jitsu master. This is a strong competition with real risk of failure for Paddy, if he's feeling confident. Lastly, the steamroller Frivola would be a similar fight to Gordon, if he wants more of the same. We've just received our decision, and the judges are calling the end of the video. Like to win by KO and subscribe to keep in the ring for the full docket of rounds, shin splitters.